Good morning. It's Monday, November 4th. Thanks for joining us on Up to the Minute. We're bringing you all the news, announcements, and events, along with a couple of special guests. I'm Dr. Amy Tan, Dean of HCC's English and Communications, and I'm joined by Dr. Nicholas Cox, our Interim Dean for Liberal Arts and Humanities. Nick, how's it going this morning?
I'm great. I'm great. How was your weekend? I heard there was a lot of running involved.
There was a lot of running. I think when you look around Houston, the city of Houston, if you want to run a 5K any weekend of the year, you can find one. And this weekend, I happened to run a 5K and a marathon relay for charity supporting 5K was supporting children with autism and some local schools in our community like Avondale House. And Sunday was Houston Food Bank. So good work, right?
Absolutely. I just admire your generosity and your ability to run every day.
No, well, it's the community that's generous. But it's great to see you this morning, and we are live on the Houston Community College District Facebook page. But how can people find us?
That's right. We are also on YouTube, and we are on X, LinkedIn, and HCCTV at noon, 5, and 10 p.m. Monday through Friday.
Today, we will be talking about our Mental Health Monday topic. We will be discussing boundaries, and one of our regular guests, Dr. Sean Fitzpatrick, is joining us. He is the Executive Director of the Jung Center of Houston and our Mental Health Monday guest. Good morning, Sean.
Good morning, Amy. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Did you have a good weekend?
I did. I did not run as much as you did, though.
Okay. Completely unnecessary.
It's good to
Hang
see
on
you.
just a second, and we'll be hearing from you in our second segment.
Sounds
First,
good.
first, we have a student success story the story is also a faculty success story. Michellina Olivas, or Nina, as she likes to be called, our HCC student and graduate. She is part of our Fire Protection Safety Technology program, and she is working for us as an adjunct instructor at the HCC Fire Academy. Welcome to the show, Nina.
Thank you so much for having me here.
We're so happy to have you on the show and to hear all about everything that's happening in your life. You are a very busy woman working two jobs, and you're still in school. So tell us, how did you end up joining the fire department?
Well, I was actually in my undergrad at Prairie View A&M University, and I was doing a community service event. And the fire chief at the time was out there as well for Prairie View Volunteer Fire Department. And he saw my work ethic that day, and he ended up recruiting me to come join the fire department. I showed up the next week, and the rest is history. I loved it, and it just became a great career for me.
So that is amazing. So you started as a fire cadet and you were volunteering, and then you went on to get your firefighter certification and also
Correct.
your EMT.
Yes, I did do my TCFP certification program at Houston Community College while still attending my undergraduate at Prairie View at the same time. So it was challenging, but I was able to get through it. And shortly after that, I went into my EMT basic. And then from there, I followed up with my paramedic certification.
That is just so impressive. Really, we call that co-enrolled, and we love to hear about students who are part of HCC working on a certification at HCC and also taking classes towards their bachelor's degree. So that really is for us to hear a student success story. What's your favorite part about being a firefighter?
My favorite part definitely is that it's so versatile. Every call is different, every shift is different. And sometimes I'm in an office, and sometimes the fire truck is my office. So it just depends on how my shift is going that day. But yes, everything is it's amazing in regards to this career. It's very, very rewarding helping people.
So that means you really have to be ready for anything. And I bet you get to meet a lot of different people.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
How has teaching at HCC's Fire Academy helped you in your career so far?
It's definitely helped me grow and learn as an officer. It's helped me hone in on my skill set in terms of critical thinking, creativity, and even effective communication as well. And it's just helped me overall become a better leader, which translates to me being a better officer on fire truck as well at Waller.
I do think that there's something about the act of teaching. I mean, you have the content knowledge and you know how to do it, but then to try to explain that to someone else and teach that to someone else takes you to another level.
Absolutely. It definitely is my passion to obtain some new information and be able to give it to these students that are coming in after me. So,
And you are continuing your education at HCC. What degree
yes,
program are you pursuing currently?
I'm currently in their fire science and safety program at HCC. I'm attaining an associate's degree in that.
So that's what we call stackable, right? You have a certificate and you're going to keep going to get that degree. Is that what
Absolutely.
I'm understanding? That's fantastic. And what will you do when you finish your associate's degree? What are your future career plans?
To definitely keep evolving because our career field is constantly evolving. No fire is ever the same, no emergency medical call is ever the same. So just to keep evolving, with that comes both training and education. It's kind of a dual thing that we have in our career field. And so I'm trying to develop a great foundation and help to continue on with my job in the fire service. And so it really helps to hone in on my skill set as far as training is concerned and to help me obtain a better knowledge base as well as
I,
education.
Yeah, no, I really love that you recognize that the leadership development and leadership journey is part of your process. I think,
Yes,
that's an amazing thing to learn early in your career and be making the right, getting the right development, making the right moves. I think that's really important. Um,
absolutely. Absolutely.
so tell me a little bit. You work for Waller Harris ESD 200. Tell us,
Yes.
for those of us who aren't in the emergency and fire world, what does that mean?
So Waller Harris is a fire department that's just outside the city of Houston. It kind of borders it on the west side. We are 620 square miles approximately. So we're fairly large.
I mean, that's the same size as the city of Houston, so that's pretty big.
Yes, yes. We are up and coming as a fire department. Uh, We're currently at 4 full-time stations and we're looking to open even more. I mean, we're just growing exponentially all across the board. It's been amazing to be a part of that fire department and that team. So,
Well, and I would venture to say that careers in emergency and fire are always in demand, um,
yes, absolutely.
right? So you're
Yes,
always
we actually have a
recruiting.
shortage at the moment nationwide.
Yeah. Well, so what is the most impactful thing you say to keep your fire cadets motivated?
Well, so every once in a while, I'll have a cadet come up to me and say, "Hey, instructor, oh, like I want to be like you when I graduate this academy." And I always kind of just smile at them and I'll just say, "Hey, look, don't be like me." And they'll kind of give me this confused look like, "What?" And I always tell them, "Don't be like me, be better than me." Because if you're just like me, then that means I'm good at my job as an instructor. But if you're better than me, then that means I'm great at my job as an instructor, and that's what I want to be. So
Truly
just leave it
motivating. Yeah, it's truly motivating. So you did mention there is a nationwide shortage. So,
absolutely.
so what would you say, or where would if somebody's interested in finding out more about becoming part of the emergency services, what would you tell them? Where should they go?
I would definitely advise them to reach out to HCC's Fire Academy advisors and to help them get enrolled in classes and stuff like that. I would definitely advise them to look into getting into their TCFP basic certification program and get that process started.
Because it's really stair stepping, right? We say stackable, but it's like you can stair step into it, right?
Yes, so you have to have, in the state of Texas, you have to have a TCFP basic certification as well as an EMT basic certification. Those are the minimum requirements for a full-time career job as a firefighter.
Well, Michellina, we are so happy to see you on the show today. It's so wonderful to hear from you, and we're so proud of all the work that you're doing, both in the field and also coming back to HCC to recruit and motivate and teach the next generation. So thank you for being here.
Thank y'all so much for having me.
We're going to have all of your all of your information in our post after the show. And we want to thank you again, Michellina Olivas, or Nina, our HCC student graduate, fire protection, safety technology, graduate and adjunct instructor. We're so happy to see you. After a commercial break, Nick will talk to our Mental Health Monday guest from the Jung Center about boundaries. So come back.
At Houston Community College, we make your lessons matter. Open the door to real-world education, where passions become careers. Find out more at hccs.edu and let your success take flight.
That one day at PE when they were like yelling at me and then you just linked arms with me, I don't think you know how much like that helped me. I finally like knew that I had somebody.
All right, we are back with Dr. Sean Fitzpatrick, the Executive Director of the Jung Center of Houston and our Mental Health Monday guest. Sean, welcome back to the show. It's always great to see you. Oh, Sean, I think you're still muted there.
Thank you. It's so good to be here, Nick. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, you know, today our subject is boundaries. We hear a lot about the need to set proper boundaries in our lives, and a lot of people struggle with doing that. What does it really mean?
So, you know, like a lot of ideas in psychology, boundary is a metaphor that's taken from everyday life, and it's a pretty recent development. In the most basic sense, a boundary is the line that distinguishes where one thing ends and another thing begins. You know, countries have boundaries, properties have boundaries, organizations have boundaries. The American Psychological Association defines boundary as a psychological demarcation that protects the integrity of an individual or group, or that helps the person or group set realistic limits on participation in a relationship or activity. The first use of boundaries in psychology was in professional conversations about the need to make sure that people like me, therapists, clinicians, don't become overly or improperly involved in the life of the people that they're serving. And that's still a primary way that we use the idea, but it's become more useful as a way of talking about how individuals and groups relate to each other in healthy ways. I'm actually quite fond of a different definition. One is by the therapist and writer Prentice Hemphill. And she tells us that a boundary is the distance at which I can love you and myself at the same time.
Well, that's very interesting to hear. You know, we always talk professionally about doctors, therapists, teachers setting boundaries with their patients or students. But now so often it's about people in therapy setting boundaries with other people in their lives. How do they establish boundaries? Where do those boundaries come from? What boundaries do people need to set?
You know, it's very different for different people, and we all learn about boundaries in different ways. You know, really the first boundary is our skin. Very early in development, we internalize a sense of our difference from other people through how we experience others relating to our bodies. Each family has a different sense of interpersonal boundaries, which is where we learn them first. And it can be confusing when we start relating to people from other families. Just over the weekend, I watched a comedy special by Seth Meyers, who I love, and he just put out this new special, and he's got a great joke about this. His wife's family is culturally very different from his, and he says, the thing I love about my in-laws is that they're very easy to find. If you want to know where they are, they're in the middle of my business. It's different, right? It's different from family to family. There's no one right way of understanding boundaries. But a good place to start is to reflect on how much we're able to experience ourselves as distinct from others. Again, this goes back to the skin. For some families and communities, casual touch is a natural and normal part of relating. It kind of communicates connection, it communicates independence, belonging, and comfort. For others, that kind of touch can feel unwelcome and intrusive. I can't tell you how weird it was when the first time my son decided that he had to just kind of hang out on my lap while I was on the toilet, and my boundaries had to radically change in that moment because he wanted to be in connection with me. My boundaries had to change, and over time, we kind of had to gently introduce him to the notion of privacy. I expect a lot of parents understand this, which of course now he's a teenager and he really prizes privacy now. This is a big deal. What matters most, I think, is whether we experience harm because of a lack of separateness and consent.
Well, let's talk about some other kind of boundaries besides the physical boundaries. What are some relational kinds of boundaries, and how do we identify and establish those?
So let's go back to Prentice Hemphill and this idea that a boundary is the distance at which I can love you and myself at the same time. While there are natural differences in the ways families practice, in the ways that different families practice boundaries, there are also problematic patterns that can emerge within a family. It's a good cue when it's hard to distinguish the difference between my thoughts and feelings and those of other people. And I'll give you a good, really, I think, common example of this. So let's say that you've been raised or you're being raised by a parent who's suffering in some way, and the suffering isn't really being well addressed. They may not be able to adequately care for themselves, and the child naturally may begin to comfort the parent or listen, right, as the parent expresses their anger, fear, or sadness. They may not be able, if the parent doesn't make it clear to the child that they're not responsible for how the parent feels, the child can quickly take it on as their role. And by the way, this is the origin story for many therapists, I think, is dealing with suffering in their families, right? And taking responsibility for it that often isn't theirs. As they make their way through the world, the growing child doesn't understand that other suffering is not their responsibility to fix. Establishing boundaries can be hard because it involves turning away from the suffering of others, which may feel callous and cold and definitely feels unnatural.
Now, whenever we're at work talking about boundaries, often the message to faculty or colleagues is about work-life balance, time management. When do you answer your emails, and when do you work in order to set boundaries between work and your personal life? How does that relate to these questions about health and mental health practices?
I can't say enough about the boundaries that you're talking about. The COVID just made it exponentially worse. I think we helped to make it worse. We, the workforce, did, because we lost this sense of separateness between our physical separateness, right, between the workplace and our home, and that meant that there was a loss of psychological separateness. Having a healthy boundary, which again I'm still really working on myself, can look like setting your phone to go silent, you cease getting those communications at a certain time of day. And I think the most disciplined among us have it set up so that they just don't go off. They don't check their email, and they don't check work texts over the weekend, right? Which I think is hard to do. I think that those kinds of boundaries with work are a necessary function of being able to make the work sustainable over time. And so those who struggle with it, first, you're just not alone. And secondly, I would say for the bosses of the world, you model boundaries for your employees. Make sure that you're not sending emails at 10 o'clock at night, at 2 o'clock in the morning. Have compassion. Make sure that, most email programs have a way to set schedule sends, so that they arrive at 8 a.m. on Monday morning or whenever the appropriate time is, because you'll train your employees that they have to be available 24/7 because you are, right? Because you're working in the middle of the night.
That's right. Well, now let me ask you, we got just a couple of minutes left. What's coming up at the Jung Center?
One of our favorite days of the year is today, and we're welcoming. We have a major fall lecture, and the lecture is called "The Light We Give," and it's by Simranjeet Singh. Simran is a Sikh scholar and educator. He has positions at Columbia University and also at Union Theological Seminary in New York. He's the executive director of the Aspen Institute's Religion and Society program, and he's written a beautiful book called "The Light We Give," and he's in town now. He'll be with us tonight. The lecture is technically a fundraiser for the Jung Center, but we have a pay what you want option, so you can attend for free if you'd like to join us. We'll have a reception that begins here at the center at 6, and then we'll go over to the Museum of Fine Arts Brown Auditorium for the lecture, which starts at 7:30. So just check out our website, younghouston.org, to learn more.
Okay, wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Sean Fitzpatrick, Executive Director of the Jung Center of Houston, and our Mental Health Monday guest. We'll have information in our post after the show.
Thank you so much, Nick. I really appreciate it. Y'all have a good day. I
hope your event has a great turnout tonight.
Thank you.
All right, coming up after a quick commercial break, Amy and I will return with some news and announcements.
At Houston Community College, we make your lessons matter. Open the door to real-world education, where passions become careers. Find out more at hccs.edu and let your success take flight.
If you love them enough to crawl into a play place to get them to come down, then surely you'll check nhtsa.gov/the right seat to make sure they're in the right car seat.
Today I'm going to talk to you about physics. Come on in, girls. Let's go. This is the first rocket to get humans to Mars.
Really tall.
I'm a rocket structural engineer, designing and building parts of the rocket. You are the generation that will be stepping foot on Mars. Do I have a group of astronauts on my hands?
Yes.
You can become a rocket scientist or whatever else you want to be.
And we're back with some news and announcements. First up, going goth for a good cause. This past weekend was the Betatech Orman auction. And this year's Betatech Orman auction had a great theme, and we all had a good time last Friday evening during Gothic Night when HCC faculty and staff came together in costume to enjoy dinner and camaraderie while supporting HCC's professional development in a night of fun bidding wars. The funds do go towards our adjunct faculty emergency fund as well as a professional development fund. We won't say who, but two of HCC's hosts, both department deans, were dressed as Melly Shelley and her creature. Well, actually, Frankenstein's creature. If you would like to donate to this worthy cause for our staff, check our post for more information. And I think I heard preliminary numbers that they raised over $20,000 this year. So you can still contribute to that. But who was behind the mask?
I guess we'll have to keep that a mystery. Maybe we'll tell people next year at the next Betatech Orman auction. All right, so STEM Day, the ethics of AI. HCC Central is hosting its second annual celebration of National STEM Day. This one will explore the ethical issues surrounding artificial intelligence. I'll say editorially here, there are a lot of ethical concerns. Now, besides guest speakers, a poster contest, and STEM exhibits, there will be snacks. This will be at HCC Central Campus Building in a Harmon building from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. on Thursday, November 7th. Check our post after the show.
Yes, a lot of people will be there. You will see some presidents, some vice chancellors. There's going to be a panel presentation. So it's going to be a packed day with lots of good information. And we don't want to forget that we are still trying to bring awareness to domestic abuse and human trafficking. HCC's Counseling and Ability Service, partnering with Aid to the Victims of Domestic Abuse, is offering the intersection of domestic abuse and human trafficking. This virtual session is open to all HCC students, faculty, and staff. That will be at noon on Monday, November 11th. It is virtual and it's on the platform Teams. Be sure to check the post after the show for more information on how to join that session. And if you're looking to make a change, this is for you.
Yes, we have a career opportunity fair next week. HCC will be hosting this fair to connect leading employers with students and boost their career prospects. This event allows them to participate in on-the-spot interviews and access free resources and services such as career coaching, mental wellness support, with giveaways and snacks. This will be at the West Loop campus on Tuesday, November 12th from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. Check our post after the show for more information.
We all appreciate the snacks. That's a very important part of any and one of our events. And we will be having a lovely music student recital at Spring Branch. HCC music students will perform repertoire that they have studied and prepared during the current semester, showcasing their development over the semester and their skills. That will be on Wednesday, November 13th at 7:30 p.m. at the HCC Spring Branch Performing Arts Center. The recital is free. Everyone is welcome. Check out the post after the show.
All right, and just another weekly reminder that spring registration is open. You can register now with classes being offered in a variety of programs and in various session lengths. HCC's courses are also offered in a range of modalities, including traditional in-person classes. We have online classes online anytime, as well as online on a schedule with virtual meetings. There are in-person labs and hybrid labs as well. So to learn more about HCC programs, start dates, and options to cover your costs, go to hccs.edu/apply.
And coming up tomorrow, the director of our International Services Program will be here to talk about HCC's International Men's Day event coming up later this month. And for Tasty Tuesday, we'll welcome back Chef Yo. That's Yolanda Henry from Newski's, one of our favorites. Thank you all for joining us on this Monday morning. We'll see you next time.